For those of you guys who don't know who Ryan Moody is from a Madden perspective, Ryan Moody is the guy who's made hundreds and hundreds of videos trashing the Madden NFL series. And just for the record, I don't have a problem with him talking bad about Madden at all. I know that's surprising as somebody who plays the game for content on this channel, but I agree with some of his points. The problem that I've had with him, and the problem that a lot of people have had with him, is how he treats people when they disagree with him or criticize the way that he speaks to people. And that usually consisted of him quote tweeting whatever tweet he got and his fans just berating them as a result.
While finishing the editing on this video, which has been in production for several days, our subject would make a response video to the trailer.
I want to get out of this, but guess what? Here's the attention you wanted. Be thankful I didn't put up on my main channel. Pretend thinking that I'm some bully that brings up the past or has people go attack channels. If that was the case, do you really think in 15 years you'd only find maybe one or two people that have something negative to say about me? Probably not. Love to know your guys' thoughts on this. Appreciate you watching this video, and you know I will be back as soon as I can with more content.
The true test of a person's character is what a person does with power once they wield the privilege. This test, along with what they choose to boast about, reveals much about a person's character and how they want to be perceived. Whatever protests of goodness and kindness they may project, these two markers will always reveal true intentions and the overall sense of how they feel about others in general. YouTubers include disclaimers because it serves as a reminder that the platform is not a tool to serve other people's agendas. Whatever our feelings or thoughts on another person, it should never be utilized to silence the voice of others. People should be allowed to speak freely without fear. Today's subject is Gorlic Bread / Ryan Moody, a dual creator in the communities of Madden and Gorworld. This video will include instances where members of both communities have felt slighted, uneasy, or intimidated to speak out concerning his platforms, as well as document his entry into Gorworld and the events leading up to it. It will explore his treatments of both communities, and instances of unnecessary information that led to needless drama fueled by an escalated sense of self-importance. In late 2021 and early 2022, a man known as Nader Elshami became prominent on the platform, enraging viewers with two channels, where he would use the mediums to engage in offensive behavior. The ex-boyfriend of Foodie Beauty, he had been platformed by the quote, star, of Gorworld herself, and yes, I am being sarcastic. With Elshami's channels came an influx of new reactors and commentators responding to the crisis. One of those channels that emerged was Gorlic Bread. However, Gorlic Bread bore the rare distinction of remaining mostly silent on the topic of Nader, while riding the wave of opportunity caused by his presence. In fact, at the onset of his career, Gorlic's content was largely focused on a YouTuber outside of the star of Gorworld, the late creator known as Life by Jen. Jen, who sadly passed away last year at the age of 46, was a creator who chronicled her weight loss journey on YouTube. A journey that would end tragically. At the time, his videos provided highly critical commentary about Jen's life. It should be noted that at that point in time, Jen had been in the hospital for several months due to issues surrounding her health and weight, and had just returned home to settle back into the everyday routines of her life. Most of her videos documented daily occurrences and events, such as grocery shopping and trips her boyfriend Gene had made to the store for her. Gorlic Bread would dissect these routines at length. While I agreed with some of his points, I think he lost me on the video where he criticized Jen's purchases at the dollar store. Jen had a habit of asking for money, and Gorlic did a deep dive on her purchases made at the dollar store, believing she had spent money frivolously. While I understood his points, it was, after all, the dollar store, and her luxurious purchase was a pair of 99-cent fake nails. In another video, he criticized Jen's boyfriend, Gene, for collecting rocks for his girlfriend. And in another, he seemed to go on a tangent about how Gene had kept an Easter Bunny suit from the year before that was owned by their apartment complex. While he made fair observations, it was hard not to notice some degree of pettiness, and some of his observations seemed like a reach. And that's because it was. Gorlic Bread was in dire need of content. As a new channel, his daily schedule demanded fresh videos, and his draw was his opinion. At the time, there was a very real climate of toxic masculinity emanating from Nader. His arrogance demanded an equally domineering opponent, and Gorlic Bread seemed poised as the protagonist. Although he generally refrained from speaking about alchemy, his confident intro and sportscaster voice gave an air of authority and dominance that I believe the community desperately thought it needed at the time. Given his near-immediate success, there were also hints that he was already a well-known creator on a different channel, a rumor Gorlic did little to dispel and would eventually hint at. His articulate observations and analyzations were in stark contrast to Nader's delusional rants. Concise and to the point, his daily videos, which now featured foodie, were quickly picked up by the algorithm. Gorlic, despite his humble intro and fair use warning, distinguished himself as an authority. Not by merit or actual knowledge, but sheer brute force of opinion and bravado. He did not come to speak with us, he came to speak at us, which some found oddly comforting during the turbulent early days of Nader. His elusive identity and air of authority stirred a level of intrigue, and as stated, Gorlic did little to discourage that. After Jen's passing, Gorlic Bread would make a video about life by Jen, stating he would never make videos about her again, while also taking the opportunity to boast about how his videos surrounding her were among the most popular on the platform.
So, if you didn't realize, all my videos are privated. And in reality, I'm glad that the Life by Jen videos got swept into that. And I will let you know right here and right now, those videos will never be made available again. I wasn't aware until today that we had lost Life by Jen. And it's mixed emotions because, you know, this is a person that I obviously made a lot of videos about, probably some of the most popular Life by Jen videos on the platform.
Even in the midst of tragedy, Moody would find a way to interject his perceived personal accomplishments in the community, using the sadness of the event to not truly memorialize Jen, but remind others why he thought he was important. Slighting a community that had long since established itself before his arrival, and applauding himself for outperforming them in his mind. He had anchored himself as a knowledgeable source by his brute intrusion into Gorworld, not largely by the merits of his own talent, but the ample resources provided to him in the community. A community he would later go on to use for what many believed was his own personal life and gain.
You injected yourself into the community and acted as if you were above it. Eventually, when people took the liberty of looking at you, they realized you were not the person you claimed to be, nor many people within it. But you might find, in some areas of the internet currently hunkered down, you will find everyone going in on everyone. You fell foul of this because you got in with a few of those creators, and when they outed you for doing something a little bit untoward, you then cry victim to an extent. I must highlight this issue of this shitty behavior, which somehow has to be inserted into a video taking accountability for my shitty behavior. That's quite a strange way of handling things. Then again, I'm not the person who humble bragged about Life by Jen when she passed away, which was enough of a reason for you to come back and make one little video.
On YouTube, other creators are your peers and coworkers. Although devoid of an office setting, creators are still largely dependent on each other for resources and feedback. And while they may not always get along, there is a certain amount of professional courtesy expected. While everyone's voice matters, it is also important to remember there are others who came before you, and the people walking beside you are in fact your equals. Moody's assertions about the popularity of his videos wielded larger questions concerning his respect towards the community and his overview in general. In more than one instance, Moody had stated he was instrumental in the success of other YouTubers' careers, most notably Yo Mama and Just Breezin. This would seem questionable in the case of Just Breezin today, as she was already emerging as a successful channel before Gorlic Bread's arrival. As a largely reactionary community, Gorworld relies heavily on the circulation of clips many creators borrow from each other, and that is a common practice in both our community and YouTube in general. At first glance, Gorlic's visual content was very hard to distinguish from other creators, and I remembered thinking I had just watched the video on someone else's channel. At the risk of sounding critical, I remember thinking his quickly composed videos lacked a certain amount of effort and research. He had taken time to give his opinion, but it did not seem like he had invested the time to properly research and vet information. There is a definite amount of lore surrounding our subjects, and context is crucial. His constant claims of having a life outside of YouTube made it hard to believe he could invest in the 6 to 12-hour live streams Foodie was running at the time. Again, this is my observation. Some of these observations would be confirmed by creator Just Breezin today in a video she aired in November 2022, where she claimed she had sent him clips and updates in the early days of his channel to keep him informed on events in the community. While I have already said my thoughts on Breezy, based on my own observations of his channel, both then and now, I 100% believe her statements to be accurate. At one point in his early career in the community, he had confessed to researching the genre and studying the content. This is far from a crime, as even Mr. Beast utilized this strategy in extremes when starting his channel. However, it did make one wonder what his motives were for specifically choosing this section of YouTube. A cursory glance at the channels would reveal that much of the drama is clip-driven and broken into smaller segments. Bite-sized portions, if you will. For those who lacked endurance to watch one of Foodie's marathon streams, they could watch a 5 to 10 minute summary on any of the commentary channels providing content. This could be an easy genre to infiltrate, and an even easier one to borrow from, as many creators were not yet watermarking their videos. In what appeared to be a self-aggrandizing move, Gorlic Bread issued a 24-hour blackout on reacting to Foodie Beauty, which he claimed was at the suggestion of a viewer. His authoritative tone led many to believe he was speaking on behalf of all creators. This backfired when the day came and only he and one other creator, Monty, would participate in the event, with even Breezy herself claiming she had never agreed to this blackout, and neither had other creators. It should be noted that Gorlic posted shortly after midnight the day the blackout ended. Gorlic would talk triumphantly about the event, with either little to no self-awareness about what actually had taken place, or maybe to plainly ignore it. It appeared to be a lack of collaborative effort, with some creators feeling like there was an implied lack of moral integrity towards their character for not participating. Much of Moody's commentary centered around his moral objections to Foodie Beauty. Over the course of his career, he would make frequent statements about Foodie, declaring she was unfit for the platform and for ethical reasons she should be removed. In one video, he stated he had contacts at YouTube who could effectively end her career. Many have asked him to utilize those contacts. Moody would refuse to indulge these questions, and oddly enough the YouTube contact and their available career-ending resources never surfaced. Many of us were left to believe he either never had those contacts, or was withholding them for his own personal gain in an effort to profit off of Foodie content. But the even larger question remained as to why he chose to enter a community he believed was morally lacking when he could easily profit from it. Towards mid-spring of 2022, Moody would start making claims that his other channel, one he had yet to reveal, had more than 96,000 subs. Now I want to state something, and I do mean it sincerely. Ryan's accomplishments on YouTube are impressive. He has built 2 channels and 2 audiences, and for that I don't think I should be dismissive. Should he choose to channel his energies into positive endeavors beyond YouTube, I believe he would succeed. I do applaud him for what he has accomplished. The issue was in how he presented it. He had positioned himself as a heavy player in his genre, and perhaps he was and is. But against the backdrop of his contemporaries, some of whom boast millions of followers, I think it's important for Ryan to remember he is one voice among many, and just because his is perceived as the loudest, does not mean it's the most heard. To his credit, he is now meticulously documenting his sources. Which begs the larger question. Why did he take advantage of a community that gave him immeasurable resources and opportunities? His current community post section is filled with ongoing battles with other creators, most notably Troll Detective. Gorlic Bread had asserted himself as an authority in the community, but was largely dependent on people who had put in the time and effort to make thoughtful content and responses. In short, he was building his portfolio from the efforts of others, and behaving as though he was above those creators. Critical to anyone who questioned him. Which leads us to our next chapter.
It's also starting to look like you will go right for the throat over a little bit of shade, over a little bit of petty talk, little joke here and there, and you just lose your shit and you actually passively imply, I'm going to get to what you were implying. So, Mandarin Thoughts made a short video and she kind of said that, is Garlic part of the harem? Do we have a new dude in the story? It was a joke. But no, Garlic took it seriously and he started to yap and scream and passively imply that her channel could be terminated for it? For what? What did she do wrong? Did she take a jab at you? 100%. Did she throw shade? Absolutely. Was it a joke? Yes, it was. But no. So how can her channel get terminated? How is that libel? Or here's what I mean when I say that you went low blow over shade or a joke or a little jab. You cited her, I don't know if it's her, but you cited their mental health posts and just told them, maybe you should stay there and keep taking your break. Going after mental health, I don't know. Did you take lessons from Natter?
One of the women that was in romantic talks with him, by the way, by the name of Jessica Messica, even did a big expose stream on him. And during the stream, he apparently sent her a text message threatening her, saying, "This doesn't look good for you, this, that, and the third." Which, honestly, just based off what I've seen him do to other people in the Madden community, it wouldn't shock me if it was actually him sending that message, but I don't have confirmation that it actually was him, so I can't really use that against him. But even without that, a lot of the things in this situation are just really weird, and he's shown signs of being manipulative in this community and narcissistic, and he's done a lot of the same things in that community that he's done in the Madden community. A lot of his fans are going to chalk it up to him just joining a different community to talk to women, which is kind of weird, but honestly, it's a lot deeper than that, because he did a lot of the same manipulation in this community and to those women that he's done to people in the Madden community.
In this section, I will be documenting behaviors Moody / Gorlic Bread displayed in both Gorworld and Madden 23. The voice you heard at the intro of this video and in the previous clip was from a creator named Cray Gaming, who has perhaps been the most neutral source of information, along with his viewers. The video prior to his was the creator Whiplash. I was present at the live stream of Jessica Messica, where she was interrupted in the middle of the stream, with Jessica claiming she received a text stating, "So this won't look good. So I'd be really careful." This sudden intrusion did not seem surprising, as given his history, most of us were expecting a warning of some kind. Of course, this did little to aid his defense. While I understand Yo Mama remains a controversial figure, in the context of Ryan Moody, it is impossible to leave him out of the story.
I know Javon has a beautiful family. I know Javon has a beautiful home. And I know Javon has a really good job. And if I had those things, I would never, ever, ever put those things at risk. And other companies that come into the space, man, they may not be so passive to statements like this. They may look at a video like this and say, listen, we have to legally advise this person to stop speaking this way about our product.
The audio you just heard is from a video titled I've Been Exposed, which aired June 12, 2022. Moody would react to statements made by Yo Mama. Upon the initial hearing of this video, his sentiments would take on a similar tone to those heard in Gorworld, where at the time, certain creators who were critical of Moody were treated less than favorably. In a familiar fashion, Moody would combat statements against the backdrop of what I perceived as veiled threats. Given this situation and their apparent friendship, there was little, if any, reason to bring up his opponent's family, home and job, for any reason other than to intimidate and provoke a response from the audience and instill a sense of fear in Yo Mama. The inference of legal repercussions was not merely a reminder, I believe it was a warning. By early spring of 2022, Nader Elshamy had become impossible to ignore, as much as we tried to. Anyone not commenting on his antics fell under close scrutiny of creators and viewers alike. One of Elshamy's earliest and most outspoken critics was a channel called Meandering Thoughts, a creator I had followed from the early days. It's important to note that Gorlic Bread was very vocal about every move Foodie Beauty made, from the major to the mundane. Since his return to his channel, which was unceremoniously wiped after a scandal in late 2022, his less than triumphant return has seen him pick up where he left off, carefully analyzing her actions, moves, and deeds. His general silence and rare instances of speaking about Elshamy revealed what some thought was a definite Nader bias. One person who felt that way was Meandering Thoughts, who would go on to make a video about their concern surrounding Gorlic Bread. Gorlic would make a vitriol response video, hinting that Meandering Thoughts should not have an audience or be on YouTube. Gorlic Bread, aware of his viewers' loyalty, appeared to be making a heavy suggestion that Meandering Thoughts be removed from the platform, in addition to making concerning comments speculating their mental health. Kaz Cray Gaming's video responding to the Gorworld scandal drew positive reception from others in the Madden community, who vocalized their thoughts about Moody, where the word bully would frequently surface. Two witnesses claim Ryan had taken issue with a creator called John Jake, where they allege Moody had encouraged mass disliking of the creator's content. On a post on his Ryan Moody channel, Moody had taken aim at a person he believed was a child, warning his community to report them. Moody was offended after the child had called his friend fatherless, in addition to telling his audience to report them. While the comments by the child were unkind, personal offense is not a justification to send nearly 100,000 people after the channel of someone he thought was a child. As an adult, Moody should know better than to take the slights of a child personally. The picture and profile are censored because, contrary to Moody's belief that I actually believe the profile belongs to a famous football player, it is censored because it is associated with the child in the picture he showed. But of course, the most documented event would be in late 2022, when more than one woman would come forward to claim Moody was in romantic talks with them, with one person, Breezy, believing they were in a committed relationship and engaged. Jessica Messica would also come forward to tell her story, as she had been speaking romantically with Moody. In addition, other women would allege the same, with none of the women knowing the other was in the picture. There are larger conversations on YouTube concerning the ethics of leveraging one's platform for personal relationships. It is viewed as an improper power balance, as a creator can easily manipulate a situation in their favor for the purpose of personal gain. As referenced, Moody had already stated he had researched the community, which means he had prior knowledge of its demographic, which is largely comprised of women. While his motives remain unclear, the outcome was perfectly crystallized. His misuse of the platform had caused several people to feel hurt and suffering as a result of his actions. When Jessica told Moody she was coming forward to tell her story, a familiar tactic would surface.
This is what he wrote me after I told him that I was going to make a video about him.
Okay, Jessica, I am not going to get to that level with you. Think as you wish. I truly care about you. I appreciate the ability to share our lives together. I meant that I appreciated how your mother liked me. You do as you wish, but because I do care for you, I'm not sending any of it back. So whatever you need to do, please do it. If hurting me helps you feel better or hurt less, then I'll gladly accept it. Just know that not talking to you hurts me. So no matter what you say or do, I'll always keep a place for you in my heart and wish things could have turned out better. I'd like to think that I got to know you, the real you, the last few weeks. Not the person Natter said you were, or the person that people thought you were. Not the person Monty made you out to be. Anyone who sees that real person would be a moron not to care about you. And while you know I can make a video showing our text messages and calls and make them look some type of way if I wanted to, you have my promise that I won't. You can remember me any way that you want, but it won't be a memory of me trashing you on YouTube like Natter did. I am better than that, and you deserved better than that. So sure, do whatever you need to do, but lead it with these messages because way too many people saw the person they wanted you to be, but you showed me the person you really are.
It is important to note that Moody has two channels, one with over 7K and one at 98K at present time. His reference that he can make things look a certain way is largely concerning, as he is a well-known creator with easy influence and reach. This improper use of power bent to the whims of his emotions can be easily leveraged to suit his narrative and influence a larger audience. He seems to be cognizant of this pull, and coyly suggesting it is within his parameters of comfort to leverage his channel in this way. Moody is keenly aware that perception and image can produce an outcome in his favor, and the larger question remains: is this a responsible use of the platform?
Out screenshots and receipts on their channels. They put out receipts because they really wanted everyone to understand just how crappy a person Gorlic Bread could be, mostly is. Gorlic Bread's response to this was, I don't have to do shit and I'm not going to show you anything. The problem with that is, you're a part or we're a part of a community that hyper-focuses on every tiny detail. Bear in mind here that energy is usually reserved for the Gorls. Well, the issue now is you believe yourself above that, or believed yourself above that, which in turn rubbed everyone up the wrong way. In turn, you ended up becoming a lolcow.
Moody would go on to apologize to the people he had hurt, but a new person would be added into the mix.
Alright, let me start by saying, anyone I hurt, Jennifer, Jessica, I'm sorry. I really am. And it was never my intention. It's not the person that I am. And I'm not here to make excuses because there are none. You know, the reality is I was speaking to Jennifer for months. During that time, you know, people reached out to me and I made mistakes. And rather than talk to Jennifer about issues that we had, I confided in others. And that was the wrong thing to do. You know, ultimately, whether the people I was speaking with had my best interest in mind does not matter. The reality is it was my fault for even having those discussions. So today is clearly a really bad day in reflection. As most of you probably will learn, I was catfished. And again, that comes back to being my fault. Now, if that person wants to step forward and own the issue, then they can. If they don't, you have no reason to take my word for it. And again, that blame lays on me. So, you know, one thing I have to learn to take from this is I cannot be a trusting person. I cannot assume everyone is who they say they are, and I cannot lead people on. So, in closing, you can feel however you want about me. I do want to say two things, though. I think this community has a real issue with people's private information. Where people live, people's children, soliciting photos from people only to try to use them, I think it starts with the people that Foodie brings into her life, and I think it ends with no one. Anyone can be brought into that. So I will stand by my assertion. It was my intention to take time, and obviously I need to find help for myself. I need to get in a proper mindset, and I'm not going to do that while having this channel. And I also know that I have to admit that I've hurt people and work on myself before I even start to try to discuss what others need to be doing. So with that said, I appreciate you guys watching this video. I would like to say in the future I would make content here, but to be honest with you at this moment, I really don't know that that's going to be the case.
In the midst of the drama, and largely at odds with the community, Gorlic Bread would make a claim out of nowhere that he was in a relationship with a woman named Christina the Latina. Claims were made that, relations were occurring frequently. When image searched, Christina's profile picture would lead back to an adult video actress in another country. In a truly upside-down moment, Moody would absurdly claim he had been catfished by Christina, an accusation that made little sense given that they were claiming to have, relations daily. In the most surreal moment of Gorworld, Moody and Christina would appear on the channel of a creator known as Kimikaze, where they would discuss the fabric of their relationship and the allegations against them. It should be noted that the person in the video claiming to be Christina looked nothing like the initial Christina, and Moody would remain off camera, thanks to barbecue chicken, for the following clip. The original video credit goes to Kimikaze.
Interesting turn of events.
Hello, I'm clearly Garlic Bread here.
I am also Gorlic Bread here. Everyone can be Gorlic Bread.
Christina, I just want you to know that you've actually touched a lot of people in this really catty community, if you will. And there's a lot of people that are worried about you. So you guys came to me. Well, not you guys. Christina came to me, and then I was very surprised when I had our special guest here.
I think when I look at what's happened, I would have never imagined things could play out this way. But I also know that, the reality is it's not an interesting story to say, somebody exited a long distance relationship and went into another relationship. That's boring. That happens all the time. What is, though, really entertaining is to fabricate that two people are the same person and someone's dating themselves, and to create all these alternate reasons why this could happen. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, I've never, in all the time I've been on the internet, had anyone accuse me of doing anything like this. And, I can look at all the issues that I'm getting and all the hate that I'm receiving. But the reality is, for her, they're saying she doesn't exist. They're basically saying that we have done the biggest hoax, known to man, that we've literally fabricated a person. And, it's just really
baffling.
It's really insane. It's insane to me to think that people would have nothing else to do with their day but to create all these things. And the great thing is, the entire time we've been two people. And that's what's so funny to me. There's so many things that you can look at and point and say, clearly these are two different people, and then just everything has gotten way out of control to, I've never accomplished the things in my life that I have, to I've never done this, I've never done that. And, the great thing is I've seen a lot of people for who they are, and I've seen, what happens when people have nothing else to do with their day. They can't actually make content, but they want to make drama. And I understand that. It's a dramatic community. That's what people are making videos for. But there's a fine line between, looking at something constructively and making an assumption of what that person could mean, and simply saying that, oh, these are two different people. And, I don't have long to stay on here, but the reality is, me and Christina know we're two different people. We've talked about this at length. It's a very complex situation to see what people are projecting us as. But at the end of the day, we've known all along that, validation will always be ours. And at the end of the day, everyone that's kind of created this theory that I was all these different people online, they're going to have zero credibility. And that's been the funnest part, I guess, for me. I don't want to say anything about this has been fun, but, we initially wanted to just come right out and get ahead of this. But then there came a point where it was like, well, wait a second. how much further can this go? How much further will people say? How much further will people fabricate? And, you know, I've seen it, you know, like I said, now it's went from just simply I'm her to, you know, I'm someone else to I'm catfishing all these people to I've done nothing in my life. And I mean, that's just, it's great. I'm glad that we have YouTube. I'm glad that YouTube documents videos, and I can't wait to sit down with her and do a video together. Yeah, and, you know, show it. You know, at the end of the day, I think we've talked so much about this, and we've learned if we can get through this, then there's nothing that we can't get through, because this has been the most,
it's incredible,
you know, just, yeah, it really is. Honestly, we've joked so many times, like this is honestly something that you could make a movie about, and people would be like, I'm not going to watch this. I can tell you at this point, and I'll probably speak for her, I've never, my private life has never actually been on the internet. For a reason. Like, why do you care? I mean, no matter what I did, unless I've done something illegal, right? Why does it truly matter what, you know, me and someone else choose to do with our life? Appreciate both of you for letting me come on here and prove that we're, you know, we're different people. And I will let you enjoy the rest of your actual girls' night out uninterrupted by me.
Thanks for coming on, baby. I appreciate it. Well, he was working, so I did appreciate him taking.
This is a lot to unpack. Firstly being that Moody claims the community had invented the drama for entertainment purposes. Nobody had asked for this arc in Gorworld, and even less wanted it. Moody had needlessly inserted a non-playing character into the drama and invented new reasons to alarm people. Secondly, Gorlic claims his personal life is nobody's business. Yet he had allowed someone he claims he was close to share very intimate details of their life. Additionally, the bulk of his content is centered around other people's lives. And of course, the most startling, and glaringly noticeable, aspect of all this is how he refused to face his accusations alone, but instead found a woman nobody knew to serve as the face of his criticism. Rather than appear on camera, he allowed her to be the face of his humiliation. And that is not shocking, it's devastating. Whether it be by timing or opportunity, Nader and Moody's YouTube paths would be in constant parallel, and the audience would start to take notice. Moody's frequent and near-daily videos about foodie were ripe with stern admonishments from the major to tedious, with infrequent videos focusing on alchemy. Moody's defense is that his rare videos about Nader out of the several made on foodie would somehow relieve him of any bias or partiality. Many wondered if his partiality was a larger statement on his feelings towards women in general, as he had infiltrated a community with a large population of women, and as time would reveal, would allegedly use those women to his advantage. Breezy would be instrumental in helping him build his channel, and in a strange move of bravado, he would take credit for hers. As has already been shown, Moody is keen to take aim at smaller channels, and surrounding himself with people he believed were smaller would give him ample opportunity to display dominance and assert himself as a distinguished creator. Do you believe this is a greater statement about how he feels towards the women in our community? Like Foodie and Breezy before him, Moody does not want to be remembered for his past, but anchored firmly in the present, with all the perceived positive notions of change and reformation associated to him. And while I believe in second chances, I do wonder what's changed. Moody's response to the trailer for this video, a 53-second clip documenting negative behaviors people have said and written about him, was an 8-minute video summarizing his assumptions of my intelligence and knowledge. It was an immediate change of subject, with distractions used to avert the audience gaze somewhere else. Rather than respond to the message, which was the assertion his own behavior had negatively affected others, his gut instinct was to aggressively revert to past behaviors and the safety of his platform to produce an outcome in his favor. The trailer was examples of what people feel is the weaponization of his platform, and his parting words to me were, "Be thankful I didn't put this on my main channel." His tendency to be easily provoked and angered reveals a heightened fragility, revealing that despite claims of superior knowledge, he will easily bow to the opinions of others, even if it is at the risk of his better judgment. Moody has told us much about how he wishes to be perceived based on what he boasts about. He wants to be seen as successful, wealthy, knowledgeable, and powerful. But a person who feels threatened by the words of an internet stranger is not truly at peace with who they are. As evidence has hopefully served, there are more than 1 or 2 people who have spoken against Moody. In fact, there has been a whole community. Moody's refusal to listen to the voices of those around him will always keep him firmly cemented in the past, and for that, he cannot blame internet strangers. My hopes are that he understands what we are trying to tell him. I sincerely thank you for watching, and I welcome your feedback. From all audiences, even those who may disagree. Your voice is welcome, even if it is not in harmony with my own.